Hello friends, welcome to yet another episode of Azure FAQs. Today let us discuss about virtual machines and how this particular virtual machine is created in Azure data center. When you use portal, Azure portal.azure.com or CLI or PowerShell, you will be able to create a virtual machine. But how exactly the virtual machine is getting created in Azure data center? A virtual machine can only reside in one particular data center or in a particular server, which is also called as host. For a virtual machine to be created, you need to have a minimum of compute. I'll mark it as color, and you need storage, and you need networking. So compute, storage, network. So these are the three infrastructure which is required to create the virtual machine. Without storage, you will not get the access to your files. So the virtual machine itself is a file, and these files has to be stored in a particular storage. Either it can be the storage which is connected to the server itself, or it can be a storage which is attached to the network. And network is required. It can be the network connectivity which is outbound and also which is providing your inbound connections to your virtual machine. Outbound connection means even the network what you use to create the virtual machine using portal.azure.com or the API using the PowerShell or CLI, everything uses the network, which is an outbound network. Using this outbound network, which is basically an internet, you request for an API call. And this particular API call is sent to the Azure infrastructure saying that this is my user ID, this is my subscription, and this is where I need to create the virtual machine. So how exactly this virtual machine gets created? In a particular data center, there are racks and racks of servers connected. When you ask portal.azure.com to create a virtual machine, there will be a certain clusters of servers which is called as type 1 hypervisor. In Azure, the type 1 hypervisor will be the Hyper-V itself. Hyper-V is Microsoft virtualization platform like VMware's ESXi and Citrix Zen virtualization, and also there is another virtualization platform which is also called KVM, which is used by Google. And by the way, Citrix Zen is used by Amazon Web Services, and Hyper-V will be used by Microsoft. So when you create a virtual machine, it will be created on top of the Hyper-V servers or Hyper-V clusters. So there are cluster of servers which are created in the data center, and this particular virtual machine goes and sits in one of the Hyper-V host. Similar to the component what you have in physical server, virtual machine also has the same components, but it is virtual in nature, and that will be in a format of file. It will not be a physical. These files are working together to create a virtual machine, and it will allow you to install the operating system like any other physical machine. Once you create a virtual machine, you can install the operating system of your choice. Basically, these virtual machines are emulated based on the x86 platform, which is Intel-based platform, very popular microprocessor, which is also called as 8086 processor. These x86 platform gave rise to the virtualization concept. It is not that earlier we did not have virtualization concept. It was there in mainframe and also it was also there in Solaris. So the virtual machine is created, but what happens to the networking? How can you access your virtual machine using SSH or RDP? You need to have the network. So network plays a very big role. You need to have virtual network created, and that virtual network as a router which is already enabled for your virtual network when you create virtual network in Azure, and it provides outbound and inbound connections. So whenever you RDP using 3389 with the public IP address to connect your virtual machine, basically it is the network layer which is taking care of your connectivity. And coming to the storage, this storage is used by the hypervisor itself to store the files of your virtual machine, and for the virtual machine to install the operating system. Even though the operating system, what you are going to install on a virtual machine, it is actually sitting on a particular file which is called as VHD file. This is a storage for the virtual machine. It is a disk for the virtual machine, but it is a virtual in nature and it is a file. This file resides in a storage layer. This is where the storage infra comes into picture. All the virtual machines which are being created across the globe or across the Azure portal will be stored in a particular storage. And each region has multiple data centers, and each data center will have its own racks and racks of storage, and your virtual machine files, the disks, and the virtual machine files itself will be sitting in one of these storage racks. No, there is a free trial worth of $200 credit. So people will be creating n number of virtual machines, and when you create virtual machines, everything will be stored in one particular zone. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like the content. Thank you. Take care.